Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am AA Ron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Jacob Esser. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, AA Ron. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Why don't you just start us off by telling us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I love that you call them all champions because they are. If you're listening in, you're doing it. You're doing the work of inclusion. My name is Jacob Esser. Thank you. I am a dad. I am passionate about inclusion, and I happen to have started a nonprofit in the last year or so called the Dads of Down Syndrome.
So,
And we'll probably talk a little bit about that today. But
yeah,
I'm mostly just happy to be hanging out with you.
awesome. Thank you so much. Let's just start off with what is your definition of inclusion?
Nice. My definition of inclusion is helping others realize that they matter. I love that you say that in your opening line. And I used to work for a nonprofit called Youth Frontiers, and I would go into different schools and I would work with students and I'd run a whole 5 hour long program, whole school day's worth of programming all around a certain character value, like courage or kindness or respect.
Mhm.
And when we worked with high schoolers, we worked for hours to get to this climax where I was able to deliver one message, and that message is, you matter. And that rings true for the definition of inclusion for me. Is no matter where you're from, what you're doing, what you got going on, you matter. And
Yeah,
and you deserve to be included.
yeah, I love that definition. Growing up, did you have any exposure to disabilities?
Not until college so much.
Okay.
When I had to find a job in college back in 2010, I was looking on the work study programs,
Hmm.
opportunities, and I stumbled across a program called the REACH program. And at the University of Iowa, I later find out where I was at school, they are one of only a handful of universities that have a program like the REACH program. And the
Hmm.
REACH program was for 18 to 35-year-olds to go to the University of Iowa properly and get a college experience.
Okay.
Whether you had any type of diagnosis, from Down syndrome to autism to ADHD to everywhere and anything, you could apply to be a student of the REACH program. And um, just so happened to be they accepted me and I started working, and then about 6-10 hours a week I was hanging out with people my age,
Yeah,
but with some type of special need, right? Whether
sure.
that be an intellectual disability, a physical disability, whatever. um, and that was kind of when my interest and sort of passion for this different type of connection and this different, more intense way of including others kind of, I guess you could say, was born.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that they had that program. I know there are a few colleges in Minnesota that people with different types of disabilities can go to college in some form, and if they're not able to maybe go whole 4 years do the whole thing, there are different programs I know in Minnesota, so that's great. There's more of those available for people to experience that. It's awesome.
Yeah,
You said you,
agreed. I
you
met
said
some.
University of Iowa or Iowa
Yep.
State
No, that's
University?
the one. That only one.
The
The
only one?
University of Iowa, Big Ten. Here we go, Hawks. That's where I went
There you
to
go.
school. And truthfully, I mean, my time there is great, but when I
Yeah,
reflect, I think about the REACH program,
yeah, that's great.
even more so, which is so ironic. Fast forward, 15 years, and I've got a kiddo that now maybe
Right,
will be able to follow my alma mater at the
right.
University of Iowa as part of
Yeah,
the REACH program.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your son and I mean, any how that just maybe just talk and then I'll ask questions.
Sure. I got my ticket to the Down syndrome community roughly 3 years ago next week or in 2 weeks. My wife and I had an at birth diagnosis for our firstborn child, our
Hmm.
son, who we named Levi. Levi came out kicking, and our lives were never the same. We find out about 3 days later he's confirmed to have Down syndrome. Our heads were spinning, you know.
Hmm.
For any dad or parent that's been in that position, it's fear. It's freaky fear, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it's so much love. I mean, it was just this incredible balance of fear and love at the same time, and it changes you, right? I mean, every kiddo changes their parents, but that is a unique experience to everyone on their own.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was a beautiful thing. And yeah, we spent about 15 days in the NICU and then got home, and Levi is just thriving. He just seems to be knocking it out of the park. Levi is very verbal. He is very mobile. He's very excited. He can't stop dancing. He plays imaginary instruments for about 8 hours a day. Um, Trumpet, trombone, stand-up bass. It's incredible, and he's making friends. It's been just great to see him, and yeah, he's got a big birthday in a couple weeks.
How old's he gonna be?
3.
3?
He's gonna be 3 years old. Yeah.
Is he getting in trouble?
uh, you know, we have to kind of keep an orderly schedule at night. Otherwise, we'd be having tea parties and reading books till midnight.
Yeah. How did the doctor tell you that he had Down syndrome? Was it like a good experience? Or I mean, I've heard some horror stories about how some parents are told stuff right away after a child's born. How did it go for you guys?
Well, first of all, thanks for asking that question, and thank you for your awareness of that problem. That is probably the leading problem in the world of Down syndrome, at least at the pre-birth phase or
Hmm.
at birth phase. Um, we are one of the slim minorities that had a really great experience.
Okay.
We had a lot of positivity. We had kind geneticists. We had a little bit of a funny deal where Levi didn't show one single marker for Down syndrome, and he was 100 percentile the whole way through, which is like points in a pretty big direction of not having
Hmm.
Down syndrome, right? So we were kind of anticipating not, having a diagnosis like that. And sure enough, right when I saw him, based on my experience at the Reach program, I was like, oh my gosh, I think he has Down syndrome.
Hmm.
And there's absolutely a silence that goes across the room. It's already a high risk pregnancy on account of the possibility of something like Down syndrome, right? So there's 15, 16 nurses and doctors in there, all making noise. And then the minute the baby's out, not a single peep. And, that's an interesting experience. Um, So I remember that, but for the most part, we lucked out. We had doctors with
Hmm.
bedside manner, and they sort of called us down to the NICU for the first time, and these two just professional nurses, just rock stars. They so genuinely and tenderly sort of walked us through, like, so we're noticing some shapes on his eyes, or you notice his ears, and if you look at his toes a little closer, and if you kind of just, pair that with the pulmonary hypertension that got him down here in the first place, it's looking pretty likely. And they said it,
Hmm.
and I just remember my wife and I just kind of nodding our heads and sort of speechless.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, speechless, but only in kind ways.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you
But
guys
thank
had
you
a
for asking that. And
good
thank you.
experience. Yeah.
I was just going to say one more time, thank you for raising
Yeah.
awareness about that. There's some great organizations like Jack's Basket doing just incredible work on educating geneticists and medical providers on how to deliver the diagnosis communication a little bit differently. So I'm super passionate about supporting organizations working on that
Okay.
exact thing. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Is Levi your first child?
First and only at the moment, yes.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
you didn't have anything to compare it to either. That's just
Yeah.
your first experience. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. And it's funny, we're, talking about growing our family again here. And it is interesting for me to kind of look ahead at like, okay, what will be different about this next kid? There will
Right.
probably be some big significant differences, right?
For sure.
So it sort of feels like we get to go kind of deer in headlights it all over again.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my story is I have two children. Aiden is I'm doing math. He's 24, and then my daughter Cecilia, she's 15 months younger, so she is 22.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, my son Aiden was 10 pounds 9 ounces at birth. Large kid. Never anything. I mean, he was only 15 months when she was born, but no issues, nothing like that. And then her daughter was born, nothing in pregnancy, and then 2 months later found out she was having seizures. So I mean, we didn't know anything. And then just kind of looking back at it, I wish I would. I don't journal, but I kind of wish I would have journaled to kind of look back and kind of see what I was thinking because she's over 20 now, and I don't. I'm sure I had thoughts at the time. It's just I don't remember what they were. So much stuff has happened, but just so for us, all the growing up was she had all the medical stuff, and our son was kind of on the gifted side, so we had the gifted side in school and special ed side, and just somewhat quite different. But like we had no idea anything was not, the pregnancies were both normal, nothing crazy, so it was kind of interesting for sure. But yeah,
So
even if kids are quote unquote healthy or normal or whatever word that I don't like saying. I mean, every kid is different already. So yeah.
yeah. And so with those seizures, were those happening on a daily basis or were they kind of sporadic?
I don't. She has different types of seizures. So she's had like focal seizures and she's had grand mal. I mean, looking back, Facebook status. I mean, she statuses when she was younger. She had multiple 90-minute grand mal seizures. So she's had some pretty intense seizures, airlifted a couple times to Rochester to Mayo over there. So she wasn't having grand malls every day, but they were frequent enough where it was kind of getting. I mean, I'd go to the ER and they would point to the door, not even like ask my name. I mean, this is a long time ago. No, it's not as easy. They kind of, they check stuff more, but back
Sure.
then it
Yeah,
was
I
like,
gotcha.
in the small town we're in, you'd walk in the ER and they would just point to the room. And it's like, okay, it's good you recognize me, but also not good because that means you've seen me enough to to know who I am. So that's not
Right.
good.
Right. Right.
But I mean,
Right.
it was knock on wood. Now they're few and far between, but she's been on seizure medications since she was that old, and we've switched them a few times. But yeah, she's been on them. Thankfully, they're more controlled now. But yeah, it was pretty intense. But like I said, you kind of get used to it ish. But I mean, I still have a little PTSD because if I'm out in town and the town where we live and I hear an ambulance and I'm not like don't know what's going on, I still like in the back of my mind it's like, are they going? You know what I mean? It's just so I mean it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So do you maybe want to talk a little bit about um the organization that you started and kind of why you started it or what got it going?
Sure. Happy to. So the organization that has found some wheels is called the Dads of Down Syndrome, aka DODS. And we are a network of dads in the Down syndrome community that are doing good for each other and for our community. So that looks like monthly gatherings where people share ideas, resources, connections specific to just the dads. Um, they share heartfelt stories. It's a place where dads can have sort of a little bit of a vulnerable reprieve where they can be surrounded by strangers, yet not strangers on account of one very particular thread of connection, right? We all have a kiddo with Down syndrome. It's a network of dads of all ages and stages. We've got dads in their 70s and we got dads in their 20s. We got kiddos that are still on the way, and we've got independently living adults with jobs. And so the array of wisdom and fear all in one room
Mhm.
checks out for a pretty cool conversation. Um, the organization was founded at a table at a restaurant called the Hilltop in Edina. I rounded up 5 or 6 dads that all I knew from just from growing up. And they all agreed to sit down. And I was all nervous to have this conversation. And I had a flashcard with like 7 conversation starters on it, thinking I'd
Yep.
have to small group style this a little bit.
Right. Yep.
And we all sat down and they didn't stop talking for about 3 hours. And I didn't even get a word in. And it was just incredible to watch these dads that didn't know each other, but all have had a similar experience of raising a kiddo with Down syndrome, talk and cry and connect and laugh and everything in between and around. It was
Mhm.
the most hyper packed 3 hours of human life connection ever. And at the end, I'm like, fellas, would you guys want to do this again sometime? Like in the
Mhm.
summer, a couple
Right.
months, once a quarter, once a year, and then go, how about next month? And we've had an event every single month since.
Oh,
And we'll have our 24th event this month.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we've been cruising, and now we are 60 dads, probably more like 63 dads strong, and they all are seemingly active. They respond to emails. They're there. We
Mhm.
usually have about 20 to 25 dads at every monthly event.
Right.
We have some that drive up from Rochester, some that come down from
Nice.
Cottage Grove, and my favorite line came from one of the older gentlemen, the older dads. Peter, who says, I drive all the way over here once a month to meet with all of you because I believe I'm sitting in the room of the luckiest men in the world.
That's awesome.
And that just hits. And for new dads or for dads that are having a rough day or rough week or rough year to hear something like that,
Yeah.
um, they leave empowered.
Yeah.
And that's the mission, is to empower dads and inspire advocacy.
Right. I love that. So what kind of got you to or motivated to like have that first meeting where you like searching out something you couldn't find it, so you just wanted to start it, or what kind of led to that point?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's pretty much exactly right. We were greeted with so much love. Jack's basket showed up, incredible basket delivery, in that first 2 weeks of being home. DSAM showed up, Down Syndrome Association of Minnesota were incredibly kind and welcoming. Gigi's Playhouse reached out and were just incredibly inclusive and excited to meet us and bring us into
Mhm.
their family. Um, and I got to know the leadership in all these organizations just because I like to talk. And next thing you know, I ask him, I go, is there like a dad's group? Is there a
Mhm.
way for me to talk with other dads and have a beer with them or connect with them? Or is there like I don't know, group? And all 3 of those organizations said no, but we've tried. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could just try and I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what led to me pulling those dads together, and a couple months go by and I just kept finding more dads. And
Interesting.
it's been really fun sharing the progress with those other organizations because they're just extremely supportive and excited.
Yeah.
And all of them have either sponsored or shared resources and networking,
Yeah.
for the organization. I once got 2 calls back to back at like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, and numbers I didn't have saved. And they both left voicemails. And the first one was like, hey, this is so and so from Gigi's Playhouse. I've got a dad on the line. I need you to talk to him ASAP. And then the next one was like, hey, this is so and so from Down Syndrome Association Minnesota. I got a dad on the line. I need you to talk to him. And they were both trying to refer this dad who was having a panicky moment when he got the diagnosis when his kiddo was
Mhm.
still pre birth. And they were trying to get me connected with him.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
so that's been really, really exciting. It's been an interesting journey personally because I mean, I've only been doing this for 3 years. I don't
Right.
have a lot of, I don't have a, I have the awareness that there's a lot that I don't know, so I'm excited to be here and learn from you. And that's the mindset I have with Dodds as well. As I show up to these events, yeah, I sort of planned it and orchestrated it, but I'm here to learn just like
Right.
everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun and really inspiring to me.
Yeah. So what do you have any like big plans for Dodds? Like what do you where do you kind of if you look out like 1 to 5 years, or I mean, do you have any idea of where you're trying to or it might be heading?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for asking. I'm working with somebody to develop a playbook. And this playbook is essentially going to be a step by step, lessons learned, tips and tricks of everything I've done over the last 2 years. From how I communicated to the dads, where we met, how we facilitated the interactions, what types of guest speakers I pulled in. I'm going to
Hmm.
document that. And then we've been able to raise enough money to invest in some marketing and some just general, I don't want to call it advertising, but like we have a social media presence, right? And that presence has gone national. We get comments and messages and all kinds of stuff on a national and international level every day, it feels like.
Right.
So
Hmm.
once I have this playbook, my plan is to identify a handful of dads, call it 5 to 10 each year, that are willing and interested in letting me send it to them and support them from afar and help them figure out a monthly cadence and
Sure.
help them sort out a way to grow their own little group, their own little
Yeah.
chapter. And so if I was to say in 1 year, I'd love to have another chapter. And in
Yeah.
5 years, I'd love to have 20 other chapters.
Sure. Have you had any dads reach out that are kind of already interested in that?
I have. I actually have a lot of moms reach out,
Okay.
ironically enough. And that's been an interesting journey too, is a lot of times these dads, these dads, they'll say, can my girlfriend come to the
Okay.
event tonight? Or can I bring my wife? And I say, no, because
All
the
right.
idea here is that you come and you gain this knowledge, you
Right.
ask these questions, you get these answers, and then you go back to your home and you're the guy. You are empowered to figure out the waiver process. You are empowered to call the sped director and complain about something. You are empowered to figure out how to get that fence in your backyard for your flight risk kiddo.
Mhm.
Um, it's all part of empowering you. So I do work with those moms and I say, yeah, like we'll be able to have that conversation. Feel free to share my number with your husband.
Yeah. That's what I could just picture some mom like reaching out to you and she gets the playbook and like hands it to her husband, like, here, take this and start a group.
Yeah, like do it. No, some of the most incredible Dodds I've been able to meet started with a outreach from their partner.
Yeah.
Because they dads men, I don't know your experience with that, but they don't pick up the phone and call
Sure.
each other.
No.
Um, I don't text my close guy friends,
Right.
as often. Since Dodds has launched, I sure check in with them more,
Right.
because I've learned the importance of that type of connection, and just checking in goes a long way. Knowing a kid's name goes a long way. My good buddy, his dog was in the ER, and I knew the dog's name, and I loved being able to say, "How's Chip?"
Right.
Because it,
Yep.
it like makes you feel that connection. Or when Dodd's son Tommy was in the hospital, it's how's Tommy? It's
Right.
like that extra step of knowing someone's name and knowing what they're going through is it's been that's been a big focus and a big lesson for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very interesting, my journey too. Like it's just I mean, I've gone to lots of meetings, conferences, lots of different things in this world, and there's just if you're in a room, it's so many more females than males usually. It's interesting to me how it's so at least the rooms I've been in, I'm not sure about you, it's just way more females in there than there are males for sure.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I don't really, I don't know. I kind of think it has to maybe partially somewhat do with like the view we have of like male or like the husband and wife or the male female roles. I
Hmm.
feel like some of it's that, some of it is just I feel like some careers are more, I mean, like certain careers like, teachers, a lot of, stuff in this world just draw more females, more nurturing maybe. I'm not sure, honestly. Because
Yeah.
to me it doesn't because to me I don't feel out of place. I mean, it's kind of weird when you're like maybe one other guy in the room, but it's like I know I'm where I should be. It's just it's interesting how other there's not more males, but I can't figure it out. Do you have any idea?
I think you're closer than I am. I think it's for whatever reason it's just men are doing something else besides connecting and getting
Yeah.
vulnerable with each other, and
Right.
men are doing something else than maybe taking a risk and going to the seminar or, feeling uncomfortable. Um,
Yep.
and I think that kind of falls under the empower dads portion too. There's hesitant dads out there, and I know that they've been made. I
Yeah.
had one dad just tell me the other day, he's like, I've been aware of the group for a year. I haven't felt like I can go. I
Yeah.
just haven't felt ready to go to that. And I'm like, that's great, like you do you.
Right.
And that's inspired me to keep the group going because it's like one day we
Yeah.
might get that guy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be because the messaging has become inclusive enough. The energy
Right.
in the room has become inclusive enough to people that are hesitant or, afraid or
Right.
you know, not sure what to expect.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, for him too. I mean, I sure can't speak for him, but I mean, maybe someday there'll be something where he just needs to talk to somebody, and he knows you're there, and that'll be the time. That'll be the month he shows up and needs the help. I mean, it's good that you're there. You're sharing the message. People, at least maybe on the fringes, know about it, and if they like, I mean, some months are better than others in my life, everybody's life, and he could, something could happen to his kid. He's in the hospital and he needs to go talk to other dads, that month. So, I mean, it's good that
Yeah.
it's there for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. You really never know
Yeah.
what the person next to you is
No,
going through, do you?
no, for sure. My brain just went completely blank. I was going to ask you, I don't know. What is one tip you can share to help our listeners to be more inclusive today? So just something anybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
My favorite point of advice that I received many years ago, even before Levi was born, but is more relevant than ever now, is assume ability. When you meet somebody, maybe they're in a wheelchair, maybe they're, walking a little bit slower than everybody behind the group, maybe they aren't talking much. Assume they can talk, assume
Right.
they can walk,
Yep.
assume that they are going to answer with the clearest response you've heard all day.
Yep.
And that allows for you to show up with respect, and it allows for them to feel seen and heard. And so no matter who, what, I'm always assuming ability.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, there's different stories we've had. I'm not sure if you've come across this yet, but um, s- we've had situations where we might take my daughter to a doctor appointment, and we go up to the desk, and they look straight at me and like, what's her name and birthday? And I'm like, so then I turn to my daughter and like, what's your name and birthday? And she says it, how she can, and then if they can't understand, then I'll help. But it's like you just said, it's like she's right there. Ask her if she can't, then we'll help her. Why assume she can't?
Yeah.
Assume she
I
can.
love that example. I do the
Yeah.
same thing when everyone asks kids how old they are, right? When they're
Yep.
like little kids. And so
Yep.
everyone's always like, Levi, how old are you?
Yep.
And then they'll ask me, "How old are you?" And I almost enjoy the uncomfortability
Yep.
of like shifting the energy to him and waiting for him to respond. And that
Yeah.
silence between that person asking me how old
Yeah.
he is and me waiting for Levi to respond in whichever way he
Right.
can. I almost love that silence now because it's like a subtle activism way of saying,
Right.
"We will wait. This
Yep.
is what we have to do. because we are being inclusive.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Sometimes
Hmm.
it's not convenient sometimes because you want to go talk about something else or talk to someone else, but we're going to wait here until my son says at least
Right.
something, and then we'll go. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. I like to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's great. Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
Um, You can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. You can also find us on dadsofdownsyndrome.org. And if you are a DOD and you have yet to attend an event, all of our events are on our website. We talk about them on social media, but they're typically around the third Thursday of every month.
Yep.
I host them in a variety of locations, oftentimes centrally in Edina, Minnesota. And yeah, that's where you can find us.
That's awesome. Are you ready for the last question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
Yes, specifically fried
Yes.
in a crock pot.
Fried in a crock pot? I've
Yeah.
never heard that.
Yeah, we had a spam cook-off once.
You had a Spam cook-off? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're into it.
But do you love spam? Because you've got a lot of spam boxes and stuff.
So I mean, I love probably is a strong word. I mean, I've been asking all my guests because I live near Austin, Minnesota, where the Spam Museum's located, and they
Right.
make spam. So I've
Right.
just been asking that kind of a fun question. But the one behind me is actually a Spam Yahtzee. So it's like a Yahtzee game, like a spam can, and like the dice have like spam picture, different types of spam pictures on them. So that's
Okay,
that one.
sweet.
But yeah. So I mean, I will probably eat it. I don't know, a couple times a year, but we usually just fry it, like slice it, fry it up, and have it like with like breakfast food. So that's how we do it. So yeah,
Okay.
it's
Nice.
just fun. It's fun getting the reactions because usually it's a pretty strong yes or a pretty strong no. There's not a lot of like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. You either spam or you don't spam.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation and I think you're a really good dad.
Thank you. You are too. To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.